12th, 2021. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Education Committee meeting. First order of business is approval of the minutes. Recommended action, the approval of the minutes for September 14th, 2021 Education Committee meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. I see that there's no presentations this evening. And we'll move on to agenda item A, Gifted Consortium Service Agreement, CCIU. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the service agreement with the Chester County Intermediate Unit for the 2021-2022 school year to provide professional development, in-house supports, and participation in gifted network meetings for gifted teachers and administrators for the fee of $1,500 as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. B, out-of-state field trip request, CAIHS. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the out-of-state field trip request for Coatesville Area Intermediate High School, CAIHS, as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. C, student-teacher placements. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the student teaching placements as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. D, food service agreement, Vanguard School. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the food services agreement for our student attending the Vanguard School for the 2021-2022 school year in the amount of $1,089 as presented. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. The informational item are the enrollment reports. They're available on board docs. Is there any old business? Any new business? Is there any public comment for the Education Committee? Lori Shannon Bailey.
Good evening. In terms of diversity, I'd like to know of the student teachers that you have on tonight's agenda, how many of those are minority or teachers of color? Diversity is one of our strengths, and so through the years we've talked about the need for Black and brown students to have teachers that look like them, so the public would be interested in knowing, me personally, whether or not we have a focus on hiring minority teachers or teachers of color. And I did not yet hear from anyone regarding Hello Sign, which the board approved last month. Seems like the administration are forcing parents to use that, and I haven't gotten a response from anyone regarding the situation that I explained the last time, so I'm still waiting on an answer on how the board is handling situations where parents and advocates specifically ask not to use that. We're happy to participate and sign with an email scan, but Hello Sign is very difficult when many people are using their phone versus a desktop or an iPad.
So, Mr. Hannon, can you have the appropriate person reach out to Ms. Shannon Bailey?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Shannon Bailey. We'll follow up. Ms.
And I think there
George
was-
or I will reach out to you.
I'm sorry.
No, Ms. George or I will reach out to you on that.
Okay. And I didn't get a chance to get a detailed look at our bills that you all just approved, or is that the Finance Committee? Okay. So that'll be, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next meeting is Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, and I adjourn the Education Committee at 6:07.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee. First order of business is the approval of the minutes. Recommended action at the approval of the September 14th, 2021 Finance Committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
And we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Looks like we're going to start off this evening with a Coatesville Charter School impact presentation by Ms. Diefendorfer.
Yes, thank you. Okay, good evening, board members and community members. Tonight we want to give a brief update on the impact that the charter schools funding has on our district. The information that we are about to share comes directly from what has been reported to the PA Department of Education for the 2019-2020 school year. I know this has been stated numerous times, but we want to stress it again here tonight. This is not about school choice. This is about the charter school funding being in dire need of reform. We have asked for your help in reaching out to your local legislators, requesting support in this matter. The next few slides will give you more details on why we're asking for your help and for a change in the funding. The chart you see here represents the amount of tuition that the district has paid to PA charter schools from 2013 to 2020. Except for 2014, you can see that each year the amount paid has increased. The total we paid in 2019-2020 was over $58 million. We know this relates to the increased enrollment in numbers, which as a district we must address. This chart here compares the special education tuition that has been paid by the district from 2010 to 2021. In 2020, we paid $40,676 in special education tuition, and in 2021, we paid $42,329. This chart represents the average charter school cost relating to special education for 2019-2020. The average charter school cost was $12,383. The calculated special education tuition rate for the district for 2019-2020 was $40,676. This was based on the total budgeted numbers from 2018 to 2019. Based on our calculation, the average charter school cost, that is a difference of approximately $28,000. The details presented here reflects the total special education costs the district paid to all 13 charter schools, which was over $25 million, and the actual special education expenses paid by these same charter schools, which was over $9 million. Based on what we paid and what they spent, the charter schools were paid in excess of their actual cost, $15.9 million. Again, this information is based on what has been reported to PDE for the 2019-2020 school year. The chart on the next page provides the details to these amounts. This chart reflects the details behind the previous slide relating to each charter school the district pays tuition to. How much was spent by those schools and how much the district paid to them, and the excess amount over actual cost for each. For example, looking at 21st Century Cyber Charter School, they paid approximately $8,000 per student, and there were 5 special ed students attending their school. It cost them approximately $40,000, and the district paid them over $203,000. The total paid in excess of costs were over $163,000. I won't go through each of them, but just from one example, you can see why we are asking for you to write to your local legislators requesting support with the charter school funding so that every child can have an equitable education. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Diefendorfer. Any questions, Mr. Keach or Ms. Mills?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a couple items, Ms. Diefendorfer, and more so it's more for clarification. Most of these statistical slides reference that this information can be found in PDE 363. Can you explain to our community what the PDE 363 is?
Yeah, so that's where we determine what our rates will be for the regular ed and special ed costs. So we take our total budget from the prior school year. So for example, we would take for 21-22, that was based on our budget numbers from 2020, 2021. And then we just work through our total funding of how much we're going to spend for that year. And then that helps us determine on a average daily membership how much we're going to spend in regular ed and special ed.
Perfect. And is that number on the 363, is that heavily regulated by PDE? Is there like recommendations that come from them for those increases? Like the attrition in costs, I guess, would be the best way of explaining it.
Yeah, so we just follow what they have on the form that determines, what we can subtract from our total. It's a form that is completed by all school districts. And then, like I said, that's how we determine what we have to pay for regular ed and special ed costs.
Thank you. For me, it was a rhetorical question, but for the community that's wondering where these numbers came from, these aren't numbers that we just pull out of the sky and put in as what we guess.
No, these are numbers that the districts and the charter schools have to report every year to PDE, and they're always 1 year behind. So the numbers that reflect here are for 2019, 2020, because it's 1 year behind usually.
Perfect. And then the last point of clarity, on some of the slides where it does say ADM, that is essentially per pupil, right? In interpretation, ADM is average daily membership. So for the community that's not sure what ADM stands for, it's basically per pupil. So just clarifiers. Thank you very much, Ms. Diefendorfer.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Can I make a comment, Mr.
Yeah,
Fimbana?
please, go for it.
So we'd like to thank, as Ms. Diefendorfer said, we've asked our public to reach out to our legislators, and we on the website have what's called a Legislative Action Center, and to date, approximately 500 citizens have reached out to different legislators. So that amounts to nearly 8,000 communications that have gone out, because you're able to send communications out every 24 hours. And so folks are really flooding our leadership and folks in Harrisburg with the importance of this issue. So I just wanted to thank the public for doing that, and for Ms. Diefendorfer for her presentation, and for continuing to ask people to continue to reach out to folks. Thank you, Mr. Fimbana.
Thank you, Mr. Hanna. And also, thank you, Ms. Diefendorfer, and to your team for the continuous transparency in budgeting, not only in the beginning of the year, but also throughout the year. Every month, our community, our staff get a budget update on what our financial situation is and the progress that we're making towards closing the budget. So I thank you for your transparency.
Thank you.
Before we move on, any other questions? Any board members? All right. We'll move on to agenda item A, financial statements. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the financial statements, bills payable list as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter B, 2022-2023 budget calendar, timeline for events. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors, skip down to this one. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the budget calendar for the 2022-2023 budget planning process as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I thought we just got done doing the budget.
It's never ending. This one's
Never ending.
It's like Christmas every day. All right, seeing no questions, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter C, 2022-2023, building budget allocations. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the building budget allocations for the 2022-2023. So the building principals and staff may begin the budgeting process as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter D, CCIU IDA-B, use of funds and intergovernmental agreement for 2021-2022. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the 2021-2022 IDEA-B, use of funds and intergovernmental agreement between the Chester County Intermediate Unit and the Coatesville Area School District as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter E, U.S. Medical Staffing Incorporated, referral agreement for healthcare professionals. Recommended action pending legal review that the Board of School Directors approve the referral agreement with U.S. Medical Staffing Incorporated to provide the district with referrals for supplemental staffing of healthcare professionals from October 13, 2021 through June 30, 2022. The rates for healthcare professionals will be licensed practical nurse, $46 per hour, registered nurse, $56 per hour, personal care assistant, one-to-one aide, instructional aide, $22.60 per hour, school psychologist, $89 per hour, and psychological evaluation, $1,020 per evaluation as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter F, Aviana Healthcare, provider agreement for healthcare services. Recommended action pending legal review that the Board of School Directors ratify the provider agreement with Epic Health Services, PA, LLC, doing business as Aviana Healthcare to provide healthcare services to students from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. The rates for healthcare services will be one-on-one registered nurse, $50 per hour, one-on-one licensed practical nurse, $40.05 per hour, one-to-one RN LPN, $67.50 per hour, substitute school nurse RN LPN, $55 per hour, transportation services RN or LPN, $105 per trip, consultations RN or LPN, $55 per hour, skilled nurse, $75 per visit, and home health aide unskilled, $25 per hour as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter G, CCIU Practical Nursing Program Affiliation Agreement. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the affiliation agreement with Chester County Intermediate Unit Practical Nursing Program in which students may acquire clinical experience at the health systems facilities for an indefinite term as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter H, Dr. Jose Monasterio, independent contractor contract. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the independent contractor contract with Dr. Jose Monasterio for a one-year term from October 31st, 2021 to October 31st, 2022 to provide state-mandated physical examinations and sports physical examinations for students at a rate of $120 per hour as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter I, Dr. Robert E. Smith, independent contractor contract. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the independent contractor contract with Dr. Robert E. Schmidt for a one-year term from October 31st, 2021 to October 31st, 2022 to provide state-mandated physical examinations and sports physical examinations for students at a rate of $120 per hour, serve as instructor and consultant to school district nurses at a rate of $40 per hour, and administer the CASD test, tuberculosis skin test, to volunteers in school activities at a rate of $25 per person, which will be paid by the volunteers directly to the contractor as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter J, Sandra Kreis Schmidt, independent contractor contract. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the independent contractor contract with Sandra Kreis Schmidt, CSN, SNP, for a one-year term from October 31st, 2021 to October 31st, 2022, to provide state-mandated physical examinations and sport physical examinations for students at a rate of $40 per hour as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter K, Coastal Area Intermediate High School approval of student activities account. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the account registration for the student activities account for the 8-9 yearbook at Coatesville Area Intermediate High School for the 2021-2022 school year as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter L, Gateway Church, donation of classroom area rug and gift card. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the donation from Gateway Church of a classroom area rug and a $200 gift card to Rainbow Elementary School's 5th grade as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Just a thank you.
We'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter M, Military Order of the World Wars Philadelphia Chapter, Air Force Junior ROTC donation. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the $250 donation from the Military Order of the World Wars Philadelphia Chapter for the Air Force Junior ROTC Marksmanship Program as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Again, thank you.
We'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter N, Emma Shivert, Girl School Project. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the Girl Scout Silver Award Project proposed by Emma Shivert to donate stress balls, sensory bottles, booklets, fidgets, and beaded paper clips to North Brandywine and Scott Middle Schools and the Coatesville Intermediate High School to help students manage their stress and improve their mental health as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter O, Giant Food Stores, donation to Coatesville Area School District activities and athletics. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the donation from the Giant Food Stores in Thorndale of 10 cases of water, Yeti cooler, and Traeger smoker, valued at a total of approximately $950. The water is for the football team's hydration plan for away games. The cooler and smoker are to be raffled off with proceeds benefiting the Coatesville Parent Music Club, cheerleading team, and dance team as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you for the donation.
We'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter P, Coatesville Aquatics Club, donation for swim team or pool use item. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the donation from the Coatesville Aquatics Club in the amount of $2,167.39 to be used to support the swim team or for any pool use item needed as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
And thank you for the donation.
We'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter Q, Jim Sapala's Key of Coatesville, donation of winter coats to Cowan Elementary School. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the donation from Jim Sapala's Key of Coatesville of 102 new winter coats to Cowan Elementary School, through the Auto Dealers Caring for Kids Foundation, as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Thank you for the donation.
And we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter R, Thorndale United Methodist Church, monthly donations to Cowan Elementary School. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the monthly donations from Thorndale United Methodist Church of approximately $300 or more each month during the 2021-2022 school year to benefit students at Cowan Elementary School as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter S, Acme Markets donation of reusable bags to Calhoun Elementary School. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the donation from Acme Markets of reusable bags in the amount of $129 to Calhoun Elementary School for a future Calhoun Gives Back Day as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Just that, again, thank you for all the donations this evening from everyone.
And we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter T, after-school transportation support in the elementary school. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the creation of the following position to support after-school transportation at all schools. This position will assist the principals with supervising children after school until their school bus arrives and help with escorting children to their bus. Positions requested for the 2021-2022 school year include up to 4 positions per day per school at a rate of $36 per hour. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter U, Transportation Memorandum of Understanding, CATA. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the Memorandum of Understanding between the Coatesville Area School District and Coatesville Area Teachers Association. This MOU defines the payment for extra duty, positions located at transportation points, and supervision within the school buildings. The rate is $36 per morning shift. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter V, Transportation Memorandum of Understanding Teamsters. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the Memorandum of Understanding between the Coatesville Area School District and Teamsters Local Union Number 384. This MOU defines the payment for extra duty positions located at transportation points and supervision within the school buildings. The rate is $36 per morning shift. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
I just want to wrap this third one up. It's pretty much the same thing, looking for support at the points as well as to help our schools as we continue to work through our transportation issues. So I want to thank our partners in labor to help us with this, with the situation. So I just want to call that out and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anna. And we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter W, Creation of Family Liaison Position. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the creation of the following position. Family Liaison Position for a period of up to 3 years. The position will be funded by Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief, also known as ESSERS funds. Starting salary at $40,000. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
If I might also, this is a very important position. We know that there's a need for communicating more closely with our families as well as in Spanish. So this is a bilingual position we're looking to bring on board to support our schools, our principals, central office in communicating in a much more effective manner with our families. So I want to thank the board for the support. And yes, this will be done through ESSERS funding.
Thank you, Mr. Anna. We'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter X, Human Resources Report. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the resignations, appointments, new positions, leave of absence, transfers, change of status, and corrections as presented. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I don't see any informational items. Anybody have any old business? Any new business? And how about public comment? All right, Lori Shannon Bailey.
Good evening. So I'd like to address first the presentation on the charter school funding. This is very, very, I don't know quite how to describe it, but these are our children. These are the district's children. of which this money is benefiting from. And it seems to me that more and more we're creating a divide. It is about parent choice. Over 300 students, their parents at the elementary level decided they wanted to leave the district. We have to do more to focus on keeping our students here, and I think I did say something about that at the last board meeting. And I'd like to know how many of you board members are going to Harrisburg to talk to Harrisburg about the spending. I'd like to know how many trips Mr. Hanna has made to Harrisburg. I recall Dr. Dunlap made several. So in terms of parents, yeah, we're doing our part. In fact, when I did my letter, I revised the letter on Avongrove's website and did it as a taxpayer supporting public charter schools. So please, let's focus on the fact that parents have made a decision to leave this district for whatever reason. That's their choice. Please support their choice. Please work harder to keep our children. It's okay being number 4 in sports, but it would be much better to be where Downingtown is or Westchester is in academics. It would be much better if we had a large number of our black and brown children who are certainly very capable of graduating from high school and reading on their level and doing math on their level, going to college. Let's do more to prepare all of our students to go to college or community college. College is not for everyone. It wasn't for my son. But let's do more to focus on how we can create a better a stronger academic environment for our district. And please do a better job in supporting those families who's decided that they want a charter school education for their children. The CC letter D, I think that was 4D, the CC IUIDEA B, I don't know what that is. I think it's individual with disabilities, I don't know. But if you can please identify acronyms so that we all know what they are. It's frustrating when you are not an educator and you don't have children in a district, so if you could please identify what they are, that would be great. And then finally, the family liaison position. The CCIU has a parent mentor. A parent mentor might be a better idea than a family liaison. I'm okay with the Spanish, the bilingual part of it, but certainly a parent mentor would be a good thing to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shannon-Bailey. Mr. Hanna, to Ms. Shannon-Bailey's question regarding the IDEA-B, I do see that there is a document for public content attached to that agenda item. Could you take a second to explain to our community what that is exactly?
So IDEA speaks specifically to the Individual with Disabilities Education Act. So this is the federal government's way to allocate dollars to districts so that we can meet the needs of our students with disabilities. So that's number one. Let me go to apologies, Mr. Finkbeiner. We are at 4. Nope, wrong one. D. Thank you. We're looking at the attachment that's attached. Yeah, and so what this allows us to do is to take these IDEA funds, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act funds, and have the CCIU provide supports to our students. As I'm sure you're well aware, many of our community is well aware of what these dollars do and what the connection and the partnership with the IU is. It's very important for us to ensure that those services that we may not be able to provide here, the IU is able to provide. Mr. Finkbeiner.
Thank you, Mr. Hanna.
Thank you.
And I noticed after we read off the first agenda item, there was a hand that went up when I asked if anybody on our committee had a question. I think it was over here. So before we move on, did you have a question? I don't see you on the sign up for public comment, but if you do have a question, feel free to approach and I'll just ask you for your name. Didn't want to miss you. I saw the hand go up.
Thank you,
You're
Patricia
welcome.
Kelly. I was just wondering if those slides would be available. That's all.
Yes, I believe, Ms. Diefendorfer, they will be up on the website,
Okay.
probably tomorrow sometime. I guess.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, what township do you live in?
I live in Chester County.
Is it West Brandywine? What school, what
No,
count?
I'm in West Whiteland. I'm
Okay.
here for another reason, but
Understood.
thank you.
All right, our next meeting will be Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, and I'll call for adjournment at 6:37 PM of the Finance Committee.
All right, let me call the Operations Committee to order at 6:37. Approval of the minutes. Recommended action, approval of the September 14th, 2021 Operations Committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right, we have a presentation to start off with this evening. It's a master planning project, and Tim Geider, Director of Development and Engineering for ICS Consulting Incorporated.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the introduction. Tim Geider from ICS. I'm here to go over the master planning process, give you a brief overview. There is a handout that I believe you all should have seen. Okay, and I see it up there too. Just to remind everyone, we've been involved working in the district also with Provident Energy Consulting on the GIZA project, the Guaranteed Energy Savings Act project. So we're already familiar with the buildings and really can hit the ground running starting this process. This is just to flip the slide. Okay, all right, thanks. Kind of hard to see that up here. You guys have handouts or pronounce
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to give you the brief overview here. So part of this first phase when we start this master planning process is really to do a complete needs analysis of your district. What that's going to include is a demographic study, basically looking at historical trends with students and projecting out what the enrollment will look like in the district over the next 10 years. And then in parallel to that, we will perform a capacity analysis within the school district, looking at each school to determine what the capacity is for students, and then compare that to the maximum enrollment that we're expecting over the next 10 years. So that would identify any gaps that you have in space availability. Also in that needs assessment is a full facility analysis. So we're going to go through each building, look through all the mechanical systems, electrical systems, the architectural and structural systems, and give you a condition assessment on all of that and help you prioritize where your needs are from a facility standpoint. And then on top of that, we'll also meet with your educational department, your director of education, and do an educational adequacy study, basically to note whether your facilities match, like the facility spaces match the educational intent that you have at this point. After we complete all of that, we collect all that data. We're going to sit down with your staff, your administrators, any stakeholders that you decide to pull in, additional principals, for instance, director of education, the business office, facilities, maybe some select board members, and get some input from those stakeholders to help form a plan or multiple plans to be evaluated. We will then evaluate pros and cons to those plans, look at the availability for funding versus the plans, because a plan that can't be funded isn't really a very good plan. And then we'll come back and present that to your group. We're anticipating the next 4 months, so there's a lot of work to do, but we're anticipating completing all this in the next 4 months and then bringing it back to the board for consideration to move towards the next step. So I know you have the handouts for reference. I'm also here to take any questions that you have, and just let me know.
Any of my colleagues have any questions?
I don't have any questions for you. Thank you. I do have point of clarity. I think I saw Mr. Pellegrin here. As we've kind of strategically played out our master facilities plan analysis, could you just take a second, kind of explain how we've prioritized certain components to align with budgeting, focus on capacities within our buildings, just so that our public is aware that while this is an ongoing process, we have prioritized certain components. Thank you. Sorry to make you walk over there. You look very comfortable sitting over there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we are looking currently right now at all of the things that we're trying to prioritize. We are still early in stages, so we haven't gotten to like all of the definitive items that we want to prioritize, but we have selected a few. One, we supplied ICS with some early information on the capacities, current capacities of our schools. So they're looking at that, but again, because the process, we just got done through all the legal reviews of the contract, we're still in the early stages. So we're going to be, once we get through the process of getting ICS on board, we're going to be moving rather quickly because as Tim Guider stated, we have a pretty tight timeline with 4 months. So that's where we're at with it right now.
Thank you, Mr. Pellegrin.
Yeah, I would only ask that we, I know we're going to get a report in 4 months, but that we get an update monthly so that we're able to kind of keep track of where we are and start to check off some, so we at least know where we stand and the public can hear, how we're progressing and keep that as transparent as we possibly can.
To add to that, what we basically did is we created a timeline. So we're going to keep updating that timeline as we progressively move through this entire process. So as the process continues, we'll keep updating that timeline so that anyone, the public, the board, everyone can see exactly where we're at in this process.
Will that be available on the website for them to see, or will they?
We can certainly make it available on our website and tie it into our facilities link.
I think that would be a good idea, so everybody that can kind of keep track if they can't make our meetings on Tuesday nights.
Okay. To Mr. Pellegrin's point, there will be on the website a channel called
Okay.
Facilities Master Plan or Master Facilities Plan channel, so that you can all drop down where the information will all be located there for the public to be able to see.
Any other questions?
I just want to say thank you, Mr. Pellegrin. This is not light work, doing a complete master facilities plan and really doing a complete district analysis, which aligns with, for those of my colleagues on the board and to our community, this was a board goal that this board had selected 2 years ago. And part of it was facilities upkeep. And this aligns with making sure that we're maximizing facility usage, optimizing our district facilities. It's no light lift, and I applaud you for taking this head on. And I look forward to seeing what you have to present to us later down the road.
Thank you, Mr. Frigbonner.
Gentlemen, thank both of you.
Thank you, guys.
Both, absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the agenda items this evening. Letter A, ICS Consulting Incorporated Professional Service Agreement, Phase 1 Assessment and Plan Development. Recommended action, that the Board of School Directors approve the professional services of ICS Consulting Incorporated to perform Phase 1 of a comprehensive long-range facility plan for the Coatesville Area School District for a fixed fee of $29,000 as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Questions? Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All right, letter B, Siemens Industry, Inc. Project Development Agreement for Energy Project Investment Grade Audit. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the professional services of Siemens Industry, Inc. to perform comprehensive investment grade audit for the Coatesville Area School District following the guidelines of the Pennsylvania Guaranteed Energy Savings Act for a fixed fee of $195,000 as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Questions or comments?
No questions or comments, Mr. Keach, but I just want to point out that dollar amount kind of sticks out. And just for our community, that there is a public content attachment that explains what that will cover. It's a comprehensive breakdown of what is going to be a part of this, the GIZA work that'll be done.
Right, and it does tie into the presentation that we had.
Absolutely.
So that it generates savings through our energy savings, and we hope to then link that into some of our programming that we have for students. I know Mr. Aceto, when he was on the board, was pushing quite strongly for this piece of it.
Yeah.
Call for the vote, please.
Yes.
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 Letter C, Elliott Lewis Corporation Boiler Unit Replacement Proposal. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the proposal from Elliott Lewis Corporation to replace one steam boiler unit located at the Coatesville Area Facility Building at a cost of $49,850 as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter D, IT Landis Bottle Filling Water Cooler Installation Additional Costs. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the additional charges of $14,655 for the extra work needed to install water bottle filling stations in school buildings. This work was not part of the original contract and will be paid for through the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief, or ESSER Fund, as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Good. Second.
Any questions or comments? Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter E, T&M Associates Professional Consulting Services for the CAIHS Slope Stabilization Project. The recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve the professional services agreement proposal with T&M Associates to provide preliminary engineering services for the Coatesville Area Intermediate High School Slope Stabilization Project at a budgetary cost of $2,500 as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. Hanna, this one is...
Yeah, this is to take a look at the rear of the intermediate high school where you've got a slope issue and we've got water that comes in and penetrates through a couple of the doors there. So we want to get a sense of what it's going to take for us to remediate that project. That's what that situation, that's what this gets to.
Thank you. I'm sure with all the rain, that's been exasperated somewhat.
Thank you.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Letter F, Academy Sports Complex, proposed Callan Elementary turf field project. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve a request from Academy Sports Complex to proceed with engineering studies and/or other studies needed to prepare a proposal agreement for a turf field project at Callan Elementary School. ASC would pay all costs involved in developing the proposed agreement. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Very excited about this. This is an opportunity for the Academy Sports Complex to turf the field behind Callan Elementary School, and we just think it's a great opportunity to partner with them. It gives our students a great field, to engage in while they're outside. This, however, just starts with a preliminary study to see what the feasibility would look like and what it would be. You may recall we had a presentation last time out when we met where ASC engaged us with what that would look like. And there were a couple of questions that came up, but we're going to make sure that we certainly respond to those, particularly about the life of the field and how long would the relationship be and things of this sort. So this is a preliminary kickoff for that project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excited about getting this started. Call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, that's all of our subjects tonight. Informational items. None. Any old business? Any new business? Public comments? All right, first up, Jane Kennedy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jane Kennedy. I reside here in Callan Township, and I'm here tonight because I just wanted to voice my concerns about the security gate that has been installed at the beginning of what we know as Red Raider Road. I've been a resident now in the Coatesville area all of my life. I attended high school here. Very proud to be a graduate of the Coatesville area senior high school. I'm a resident of the Carver's Court housing development that is just west here of the high school. We're almost on the same campus. Living there for more than 38 years. And this gate has proposed insult to many of our residents there. It is a security concern for many of our residents. If you don't know, we are on the National Registry of Historical Places. And because we lived in a contained development, just recently we experienced two incidences where we had flooding. And we could not get out of our development because, as you know, the underpass at 11th Avenue floods instantly. And the gate was closed at the school entrance. And that was before Mr. Crane even installed his gate. The gate here at the school was closed. So we were trapped. And the only way that we could get out was to go to Coast Street. So you got 200 cars coming off of Foundry Street to go to Coast Street to try to get to Black Horse Hill to get to a safe place. That's not good. We had that contained company at the end of our development, Keynes, I believe it is. And they have more than 30, 40 tankers there that may at times contain gas. If that should explode, it could be catastrophic for our residents as well. We don't understand the nature and the reasoning for having the security gate closed. I was told that there was a grant written for the gate with the idea of it being used to secure the campus when the students were in class, which we and many of my neighbors agree with 110%. But at the end of the day, in the evenings and on the weekends, why must the gate still be closed so that we don't have access to come out of our development? I mean, we've been there now 76 years and always had access and enjoyment of coming across what we know as Red Raider Road, even to walk the facilities here at the high school where we do pay taxes. I know for many years that even when the high school had the Building and Grounds Committee, and they came down Red Raider Road and they cut the 2 feet of grass behind our properties, whether they cut it or they didn't cut it, whether they came through and weeded or didn't weed it, we would always take care of it. But when this new contract came in with this subcontractor, the grass along that area was unkept, and it has created a problem. And we're just really concerned. We want to work together. We want to try to resolve this in a peaceful manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kennedy. Francine Walker.
Good evening. I'm Francine Walker, and I am a resident of Coatesville. I live in Carver Court, and I could basically just ditto everything that Jane has said. As a resident there, I think it is insulting that the gate was put up. I walk this school road just about every day in the summer and in the evening. And I have to cut through the side, not to mention since Mr. Crane has put his gate up at that end, I just climb over it. But my concern is I leave out about 6:15, 6:20 in the morning, and there are some students that are walking to school. And my concern is, do they have to climb over his gate and then walking down the school road, which is what we've always called it, they have to cut through the side. Also on the weekends, at the other end of the school property, there are soccer games that happen. So why is the access point from this end shut off, but no other access point is shut off? Rainbow School is available if you want to walk around Rainbow School, and so are the other campuses. why is this gate put here? And I feel like, and I'm just going to speak to the elephant in the room, that it was racially motivated. It was racially motivated to keep us out. When they're not kept out on this side. I've been living here basically all my life except for the 25 years I lived in D.C., where I went to the high school to walk around the high school in D.C. Why was this gate put up? How much money was spent on a grant to put this gate up? And what is the real purpose that the gate was put up? Not the fluff and stuff, but the real reason why the gate was put up on this side. And I know you can't really address Mr. Crane's gate, but what was his gate put up for? Because as people from that side, the Carver Court people, we do feel insulted that a gate was put up to keep us out, but nothing was put up on all access points on this side, from Lincoln Highway, Callan Road, and I understand the VA property, but it would seem as if you're trying to keep people out off the property, that it would be all access points. Sometimes I'm walking in the evening and they have games, or on the weekends they have soccer games, and I watch cars go out the wrong way where security says, well, what am I going to do? They don't listen. But a whole road has been shut down that nobody can use for whatever reason. And I agree with Jane. The night that it flooded, I couldn't get home. I could not get home. Every road leading up to Carver Court was flooded. And all I could think of, if I can't get home, they can't get out either.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker.
Mr. Keach, if I may, please.
Yes, please.
Ladies, you present very legitimate concerns. What I'm going to ask Mr. Hanna to do is to set up a meeting with yourselves and our police chief and whoever else, Mr. Hanna, you think should be a part of that meeting. All right, and we have their addresses, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Do you need any other information from these ladies before
We have what we.
you have your numbers? Okay. Yes.
I do have one other thing to say, that the trucks have access to the gate. I was walking one day and I saw the truck at the gate, the school gate. And when I got there, I thought he was waiting for it to open, and I said, you know that won't open. And he said, no, I have a number or a code to get in. So the gate will open. And if the trucks have access to it, I'm still not understanding why we don't have access to it.
Just stay there right there 1 more second, please, so you can. What is a better time? Is an evening meeting better for you? A daytime meeting?
Yes, an evening meeting is better for me.
Okay. All right. Somebody will be in touch.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Fisher, may I ask a question? Ms. Kennedy, you were alluding to how dangerous that was. Would you say that could be a catastrophic situation if the situation were to rise, such as a fire at the end of the Carver Court or a flood? Would you mind stepping up and explaining that, if it's okay? A catastrophic situation.
Yes, once again, it would be catastrophic, because how would we get out? How would we survive it? You know, we are in a contained community, and there's only a one-way street that goes around, and you have over approximately like 66 homes there with over probably 200 cars. Most families have 2 cars now. Could you imagine what that would look like? And the majority of our residents are seniors. Even to get medics in is difficult today, you know, because there was a situation where medics tried to get into the campus, I heard, and they couldn't get in. But the trucks can get in. That doesn't make sense. So something is not looking very good because these truckers pull up to the gate and they punch the code. Somebody's giving them the code to our gates. So when his 18-wheelers can't get through that underpass, they can come through our school, but our kids got to climb over gates. This is not a very pretty picture, but you want to keep kids in the district. You want to keep families here, but this is not how we keep families together, and we're in a bad situation.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for your comments this evening. Our next meeting is Tuesday, November 9th, and I will adjourn our meeting at 7:02.
I'd like to call to order the October 12th, 2021 Policy Committee meeting. First order is approval of the minutes. Recommended action, approval of the September 14th, 2021 Policy Committee meeting minutes. Can I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Call for the vote. Oh, no, yeah, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 There are no presentations this evening. Moving on to agenda items. First one is A, Policy 121, Field Trips. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve Policy 121, Field Trips as presented, and move this agenda item, if approved, to the special board meeting scheduled for October 12th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Any questions, discussion? Call for the vote?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Letter B, Policy 122, Extracurricular Activities. The Board of School Directors approve, the recommended action is that the Board of School Directors approve Policy 122, Extracurricular Activities as presented, and move this agenda item, if approved, to the special board meeting scheduled for October 12th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes. Letter C, Policy 123, Interscholastic Athletics. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve Policy 123, Interscholastic Athletics as presented, and move this agenda item, if approved, to the special board meeting scheduled for October 12th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter D is Policy 123.1, Concussion Management. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve Policy 123.1, Concussion Management as presented, and move this agenda item, if approved, to the special board meeting scheduled for October 12th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Letter E is Policy 123.2, Sudden Cardiac Arrest. Recommended action that the Board of School Directors approve Policy 123.2, Sudden Cardiac Arrest as presented, and move this agenda item, if approved, to the special board meeting scheduled for October 12th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Call for the vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Our next is informational items, and if I can have my fellow board members called to the attention of letters, holy Hannah, WW, which is Policy 137, Home Education Programs. To my fellow board members, we need to have a discussion regarding this policy so that we can give guidance to the administration on how this should be written. And if Ms. George, you could just kind of explain that policy for us.
So policy 137 speaks to the home education policy for home educated students. And
Can the folks back there hear? Is the microphone on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ms. Georgia.
okay. So policy 137 speaks to home educated students. Right now, our policy indicates that students at the secondary level can participate in up to 2 courses at the high school. What we need to do is make a decision about whether or not we want to keep that in the policy. It doesn't address anything at the elementary level, and we need to address TCHS. Currently, we have 9 students who are homeschooled students participating in TCHS. We have 4 students who receive special education services coming into the schools to receive speech and language, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. The Pennsylvania Department of Education does not require public schools to provide services to students who are in home education programs. And so we need to make sure that we're writing our policy to reflect exactly what our intent is. Whether we would have students continue to participate in TCHS programs, be given the opportunity to come in to take classes, and receive special education services within the district.
Ms. George, I do have a question. So you said that we have 9 students right now at TCHS. When would this go into effect? When, for what school year?
So my recommendation would be that the students who are currently receiving the opportunity to attend TCHS would be able to complete their program. So we have some students that are in their final year. So they would be finished at the end of this year. We have students that have 2 more years, and then students that just began this year, or students that have 1 year.
And do you know off the top of your head, I don't mean to put you on the spot, how much it costs the district to send 1 student to TCHS?
I don't have that number.
Okay, that's fine.
That's okay.
Mrs. Harlan, if I may, before we ask any more questions, to my fellow board members, just to make sure that everybody understands, the administration is looking for guidance as to how we would like to proceed with this policy. We currently have, and I'm privileged to know this because I was the former principal here at the high school, the policy currently states that homeschool students can come to the campus to take up to 2 classes, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. And does the policy currently state that any homeschool student who would like to attend TCHS may do so?
It does not state.
It does not. All right, that was a rhetorical question, but I want to make sure everybody else understands that. All right, so we need to provide some guidance moving forward so that the policy can begin to be developed. It doesn't mean that what we say here tonight is etched in stone because we're not approving the policy. We're just giving information to our administration so that they can move forward. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Ms. George, I think in order for us, I think it is important, and I don't want to misspeak because it's been several years since I've been employed here, but I think it's important that the board understand, and I think that was a very good question as to what it costs our district to send students to TCHS, because I'm just going to put it in layman's terms, it's not cheap. It's not cheap.
I do have one question again about TCHS. So the students that are homeschooled that are going to TCH, we are also providing transportation for them, is that correct?
We are.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. So if you are a homeschool student and you have permission to go to TCHS, that student comes here on campus and catches the bus to TCHS and then returns here to campus? Or do we don't go to the home and pick them up, correct? Because we don't do that for any of our own students.
If they need to take a bus from their home to get to campus and then make the transfer onto the TCHS bus.
Right, but the TCHS bus collects the Coatesville School District students here on the campus in the AM. Our students are AM students at TCHS,
Right.
and then the bus returns them here to the campus. Right, we do not transport the student, individual students home to their home address, correct?
We have some students that are transferred home. Some students drive to the campus to get the bus, and some students drive to TCHS. But we have a couple of students that are taken to their homes.
Are you at liberty to I'm confused.
So I think, Mr. So
Yeah,
if
I don't want to break confidentiality here.
So
but
what I'm thinking is, the kids come here in the morning on a regular bus.
Where that, yep,
They go to TCHS.
yep,
Then the students that are, that don't have class here, then they go right back home
They go home.
on a bus that we are providing
so
for them.
that's the answer I'm looking for.
Yes.
The homeschool students go home, they're delivered back to their home.
Some
Right.
of them, not all of them, but some of
Because
them.
for over a decade, at 10:35 every morning, I stood out on that sidewalk when the 4 or 5 buses from TCHS returned. So the students that attend our high school are brought back to here.
Correct.
But again, just for clarification, my question is, if a student is homeschooled, we deliver them back to their home.
Those who need that transportation to get home, yes.
So again, to my colleagues, and there might be additional questions, so if you don't mind, Ms. George,
Okay.
we need to have a discussion as to where we are with this, and are we going to continue to allow homeschool students to come to the high school to take up to 2 classes? We currently have 9, correct?
That's correct.
And are we going to continue to allow homeschool students to attend TCHS? And I believe I heard you say that we currently have some homeschool students that attend TCHS, and there is 1 that's graduating?
2. We have 2 that will be
all right.
graduating this
So
year.
what would your recommendation be for those students who are currently enrolled there?
My
Underclassmen,
Right. My recommendation would be that we allow them to complete their program
okay?
because they're already in the program and they're already started. So there are 3 students who would have 1 more year and 4 students who would have 2 years to go.
Okay. All right. Need to have some discussion, folks.
I'll jump in if I can. I agree with you, Ms. George. I think students that are currently in the program should be permitted to continue with the program. But I think you're right, Mr. Fisher. I think a discussion has to be had moving forward. Beyond that, what parameters do we set in place? But I would agree that any students currently enrolled in the program should be able to continue the program.
My first concern is this. Our high school is now 10, 11, 12. We have more students here than we've had in previous years. Do we have any freshmen, any 9th graders that attend TCHS? I don't think so,
No,
correct?
No, I don't
All right,
think
so you don't begin the program until 10th grade,
grade.
correct? Okay. That's an additional question. But my concern is we are to the gills here now. And I have a concern with adding more students to that. And that's something I'm throwing out there. I'd like to hear some others' thoughts on that.
I'll speak. I'm in agreement. I think the students that are currently in the program should be able to complete the program, whether they have 1, 2, or 3. I guess it would be maximum 3 years left, right? But I kind of carry that same concern you do, Mr. Fisher, with if it's going to keep our students that do go to these schools. Our classrooms are already overcrowded. I have nothing wrong with homeschool, but if you choose to homeschool your students, if they're coming into the classrooms and taking up a desk, time with the teacher away from students that are enrolled in the school district, I'm not sure if I agree with that.
So, Mr. Kranz, let me digress, and I neglected to say, so I think it's important to say, once again, that you are right. A parent has the right to homeschool their child. So this is not about a parent's choice. This is about what's economically and educationally correct for the students that currently attend our high school. Again, I think it's important to my colleagues that you know this discussion is just to enable the administration to begin to write a policy. We're not voting tonight, or we're not saying tonight, because we're making these comments, that this is the direction we're going to go. But we have to give administration some kind of direction moving forward as we are revising all of our policies from A to Z.
So I know that we're talking about TCHS, but you did also make a comment that we do offer special ed students that are homeschooled OT, PT, and speech.
We have 4 students right now that are receiving that service.
Okay, so, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I think Coatesville probably is the only one that does allow that, or are there other districts that allow?
I think other districts do permit that.
Okay.
I would, I mean, the thing that I'm wrestling with is they are taxpayers as well. So regardless of whether or not their students are here, they still are required to pay school tax like everyone else. And so I tend to agree with the special education needs that can't be provided in the home. I just think what can be provided in the home
So
is sufficient.
they can be provided at home? They can. They don't have to be provided through a school district. Just for clarification, speech and language, OT and PT, do not have to necessarily be provided by a school district if they're homeschooled. There are providers out there that will come to your home and do that.
Good to know.
If I could approach this through a different lens, we just got done speaking in ops about a master facilities plan, because Mr. Fisher, your concerns do ring true. Especially this year, we've increased our enrollment in students, and there's an impact to that on our campus. But we just got done having a conversation about a master facilities plan, which is going to include facilities usage. So we're going to be able to analyze the capacities within our buildings, and who knows, theoretically speaking, we may have a conversation about grade realignment in our buildings, and this might all be for a moot point. So I would recommend, if I have the ability to do that in this discussion, that we hold off on development of any policies until we get the results back from our feasibility study, from our master facilities plan. That will help maybe appease some of those concerns on campus.
And for clarification, that's one of the options that's on the table, and has been on the table since the beginning of this discussion. We don't change the policy.
Mm-hmm.
We keep it the same for now. All right, but again, I'm trying to get some kind of feel for the administration where we want to go. So let me approach it this way. Am I hearing then that we would like the policy to remain the same until we have the opportunity to at least dive into our facilities audit? All right. Mr. Keach, you've been chomping at the bit down there, sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I would suggest that we wait until this is all said and done as well, the study. We're looking at the TCHS kids and, probably allowing them, at least so far everybody's spoken that they feel as if we should continue with those students that are already there. There wouldn't be a new influx of those students until next school year starting, because those 9th graders that moved to 10th would then be able to start.
There could be.
Right. Oh, there could be.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When would that influx be?
It depends. We have, so it's a open enrollment, right, at TCHS. So if a program opens and a student is accepted, then a parent could make a request for their child to start at TCHS at any time.
I guess that would be that's kind of the
All right, so
problem with sticking.
So I'm going to try this again. Are we in agreement then that we would advise the administration to allow the policy to remain the same for now? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
I would say
that
yes
would be
to
mine.
that.
Yep.
All right, I'd like to hear from others, if I could, please.
I don't agree with that, I gotta say. Because it's taken away from the children that has to, that want to go from the school district, and it is the parents' right to send their child to wherever they want to, but they ought to be responsible for that decision and whatever things come their way. I mean, I'm serious. I don't like this at all. Our kids come first, point blank.
Yeah, and I will say again, the reason I asked the question about students being transported home, that's a cost. We don't even do that for our own students. I don't want to say own, they're all ours, but we don't do it for the students that attend this high school. For obvious reasons, they're coming back here to take classes, but it's still an additional expense that's not needed for our own students. So if the majority, when the time comes to look at this, when the facilities plan has been discussed, I just want to go on record as saying I have some concerns about some of those things.
What is the timeline for the facilities plan? Like, what are we looking at again for that to?
I think we heard 4 months.
4 months. Okay, I wasn't sure.
January.
January.
That's what he said.
Okay.
Right. The only question I'd ask is to the question earlier about other students coming in. Do we create?
Right, that's my concern.
Do we consider, just for the table, interim that speaks to, would we let students now coming in, moving forward, or do we freeze it, right, with some language that speaks to when the facilities master plan is up, we then take a broader look to potentially avoid, additional enrollees. Just putting it out there as a question.
Here's my concern. If we're not changing the policy, then the policy doesn't say currently that we freeze the membership. Correct?
It's not, that's correct.
Okay, so I don't think we can just pick and choose and, either we're going to keep the policy the way it is or we're going to recommend some changes.
So I would be for changing the policy and not waiting for the facilities.
Okay, so I've heard 2 people say that they would rather not wait for the facilities plan. So,
Number 3, I agree with the ladies.
okay.
Let's not wait.
Mr. Fisher, can I just ask a question? Do we have historical educational enrollment data that would suggest that we would have increased enrollment between, let's say, now and February?
I can go back and find that. Yeah.
I can speak from experience as a high school principal. It does happen.
And are you
Most of our students do come in at the beginning of the year. I'm sorry.
I mean, I can't tell you how, off the top of my head how many, but yes, it does happen.
Yeah. Most of our students do come in at the beginning of the year, but we have to remember that there are times whenever we have students who are switching over to be a homeschooled student, and they're already in TCHS, and so that can happen at any time. So it just depends. If a program opens up and the student gets a call that says, we have a slot open, are you interested? Then that could happen as well. So we don't really know for sure.
So again, understand this is not an official vote, but going back to the same thing, we've got to give some direction here. So I have 3 of my colleagues who would like to move forward now and not wait. We need to hear from everyone, including myself.
Mr. Fisher, I don't want to further complicate things. Well, I have one more question. If we do decide to change the policy now and then the feasibility study determines space isn't an issue, is there an opportunity to change it again?
Yes, the board can rewrite policy as they see fit.
And can I just add too, for clarification, we have no students coming into the buildings right now, other than our special ed students for related services. There are no students coming in for academic courses.
Okay, that's good to know too.
Mr. Brown, Mr. Keach, I haven't heard from you. I'm inclined to agree with the other three, that I think it's important that we give you direction now and change that now. So that's 4 for not waiting. Microphone, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown.
And I was wondering if the home study really entails or takes into consideration a mother that has to go to work and leave her child home by themselves to study. Is that taken into consideration in this particular policy?
Well, that's a choice that the parent makes. They choose to homeschool their students, and so they're choosing to stay home to homeschool their kids. Or they have somebody else come and tutor them. But that's not a district decision. That's a parent decision.
Okay.
All right, so I'm hearing that the board would prefer to give some direction now for some change. Again, no vote is taking place. We're just giving them direction as to how to move forward. So I'm understanding 3 pieces to this. One is the TCHS, one is the special education students, and one is the students that are coming here in addition to the special education students to take up to 2 classes.
And then any transportation piece.
And transportation piece. Okay. So what is the board's thoughts on allowing the TCHS students who are there to finish? Again, just for direction. And then our option is we continue to allow homeschool students to go to TCHS, or we decide that we should not provide that opportunity for them.
I'm good with them being able to, those that are there now being able to complete their TCHS education. I do have a concern about the extra busing that we're doing for those that can't get home, because we're not providing that midday transportation home for anybody else in the district. And that expense, I do have a problem with.
All right, so administration, moving forward, there are some concerns about transportation. That's one, okay?
I would agree with Mr. Keach.
Ditto. So I think that that's a strong recommendation, that we no longer provide that service.
Mr. Fisher, could I just clarify? So the transportation that's being provided now, you're asking that it stops this year or stops at the end of this year?
No, I think we all agree that whatever we've started for this year, we
Okay,
continue.
okay.
I don't think it'd be fair to disrupt those
I agree
households
with
now
you.
when they're used to, and I'm only speaking for myself, but I think I feel that sense
agree.
here.
I agree with that.
That
I agree with that.
we're looking to allow them to finish this school year.
Yes.
I'm just going to put it out there, folks. I have a problem with continuing to allow homeschool students to attend TCHS with the school district paying for it in the financial turmoil that we're in.
I agree with you, Mr. Fisher.
Somebody's got to make the statement, so I'll do it.
I agree.
I agree with you, Mr. Fisher.
100%.
Yes.
So unless somebody has strong opposition to that, again, I'm just looking for direction. I think go ahead, Mr. Finkbeiner, go ahead.
Yeah, the whole TCHS thing throws a whole wrench in the equation for me. The concern that I have with not allowing that is taking away an educational opportunity for a student enrolled in this district that would force their hand to make a decision for an alternative educational opportunity outside of our district. That's the concern that I have. If it's an opportunity to enhance that child's education, I feel that we should allow it.
And I appreciate those comments, because now we're having some discussion.
But but they're not in our building. They're being homeschooled at their house, and we are paying for them to go to TCHS that they've never stepped foot in our building. And we're saying, okay, they can go to TCHS.
I completely understand. My take on it is it's still a Coatesville student.
But still, it's the parents' decision that everybody is making emphasis on. It's their decision not to send their kid to our school. So they ought to be aware of all the responsibilities that go with it. We cannot, say, okay, it's not okay. It takes away from the kids and the parents who let their kids stay in the school and get a good education away from them. It's not fair, it's not right, and I'm not going to go along with it. And that's all I got to say, because I don't want to get on a tangent.
That's okay. I appreciate that. I'll give a theoretical here. Let's say Andy's parents decide to keep him home because their parents aren't happy with discipline and education in Coatesville area schools, but they don't want to send they don't want to send Andy to a charter school. So they choose to homeschool them. And we take an opportunity away from them for TCHS, and they say, you know what, I'm going to send my child to another charter school.
That's their right. We're taking rights away from our kids to satisfy somebody else's kids who made a decision not to go here. So any way you cut it, I'm not for it, because it's not right for our kids here. And if the parents choose, because whatever reason, not to come here, it's their right.
Sure, I completely agree. I'm just
not. And so they got to accept the responsibilities that go with it. Transportation, whatever schoolhouse that they want to get into to do for their kids, then they got to find a way to have it done. Our kids are coming here on a regular, and all them opportunities are there for them. And now they get kicked out because of somebody else is making another decision. You're making decisions for our kids, and it's not right. So, no.
Understood. I'm just not a proponent of forcing the hand for those parents to make that decision.
We're not forcing their hand.
It's just my opinion.
They made their decision.
I'm just my opinion.
Okay, I think it's pretty clear on the stances there. Ms. Mills, I saw you a couple times going to your microphone. Did you have anything to add?
I just totally agree with Ms. Harris. I totally agree with Ms. Harris. These are our kids. We worry about every single penny for our kids and every program, and we break our heart when we have to cancel the program because we don't have money, and it's tough times. If you make a decision to homeschool, and I know a lot of homeschooling parents because I worked with them.
All right, if I can then, I'm going to take the liberty, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to stop discussion, so if there's more discussion, let's have it. I'm glad to see that we finally did have some discussion, but moving forward, I'm hearing that we direct the administration to construct the policy so that it no longer allows homeschool students to attend TCHS. That's nothing etched in stone. There's no vote tonight. We'll have plenty of opportunity to discuss, but first thing we decided upon was not to wait to rewrite the policy. Now I'm asking, the second thing is that we are recommending to the administration that they move forward with the rewriting of the policy, eliminating the opportunity for homeschool students to go to TCHS. Can I get an affirmative on that?
Yes.
Everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start the next conversation. And Ms. George and Ms. Harlan, because I know your expertise in this area, explain to me how a special education student that is homeschooled gets the same services at home as they would get here in the school.
So there are other agencies that can provide these services, and many times they can be paid for through the child's insurance. So there are opportunities for families to receive those services. I think something that the school should do, because we do evaluate students and we're required to do that. So if a parent asks for an evaluation, we would do that.
Right.
If the parent declines the IEP, which is a full offer of FAPE, we can provide contacts and resources for them so that they know where to reach out for those things, and we can kind of help them to know that check with your insurance company and things like that. So we can give them those supports. We just wouldn't be providing the service for them.
Right,
Okay.
yes, yeah, there's lots of services out there that will do, just like Ms. George said, well, you can do on your insurance, you can do private pay, and they'll come to your house, and they will give you your speech and language, your OT, and your PT.
Okay, and I did think I heard you say earlier that there are districts that
There are.
do follow in that suit. That,
Mhm.
okay.
There are some districts that provide no services at all to homeschooled students, and some districts that provide services. So
Okay.
it's an LEA decision, so
Right.
it's not the same across the board.
And Ms. George, could you explain how the services are given to homeschool students for speech, OT, PT? What does that look like from a district? Like, do those kids come to our buildings?
They do.
Okay.
But the parent brings them.
Yep.
They
okay.
drop them off and then take them home.
Any other questions as it relates to special education services for homeschool students?
Just a clarification, I think. So a parent comes to you and says, I'm going to homeschool my child. At that point, you offer information that would allow them to get services they may need, one of which at this point would be the ability to come to our buildings to have certain services done. If we were to push in a direction of not providing them in the schools, would then that mean that when they come and they say, we're going to homeschool our kids, part of the informational packet would be then how would they get these services that we currently provide that they could now get at home?
Correct. So most of the time the conversation comes up when an evaluation has been completed for a student. If we complete the evaluation, we have to actually offer the IEP to the family. Most times the family will say, no, I don't want the full offer of FAPE. I don't want my child to come here. I just want OT, PT, or speech and language. The only document that we have to, I guess, document that service is called an Equitable Participation Service Plan, which is not intended for students that are homeschooled. It's intended for students that attend private and parochial schools. We're required to provide that service to students that attend private and parochial schools, but we are not required to provide that to homeschooled students.
Okay.
So that's when it would come up. When a parent sends in their affidavit for homeschooling, if it's a student with an IEP, they must include their plan to meet that student's needs within that affidavit. So it can be part of that conversation as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions for Ms. George as it relates to special education students? Okay, once again, I'll put a recommendation out there, and then hopefully that'll provide for more discussion or agreement or disagreement. I would say that we direct the administration to revise the policy so that our special education students would obtain those services in the home.
I would second that.
I agree with that.
I agree.
I'm okay with that.
Others? I think we have enough of a majority to ask you, and I don't want to put, Mrs. Harris, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think I understood where you stood with your previous comments.
Yes.
All right. Again, yeah, we would, again, this doesn't affect any student this year. It doesn't affect anything right now. I can't say it enough. For anybody who's listening, we're not voting on the policy now. We're just giving direction, and then it's going to require some more discussion at another point. So this will not affect the students this year. I don't think in any of the areas we're discussing we want to disrupt students who have already been grandfathered in and have already been participating. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Regular education students coming to the campus to take up to 2 classes, of which we currently have 9, I heard? No,
We have no students coming in for
we
classes.
have none. Okay. All right.
None.
All right. Again, just for the point of developing discussion, I would say that we, considering our current situation, that we do not allow students that are homeschool students to come in and take those 2 classes. Something has to be put out there so that we can discuss it or have an opportunity to voice your opinion.
I agree with you, Mr. Fisher.
I agree.
I agree.
As a point of clarity, right now, we offer, but we don't have any students taking advantage, correct?
Correct, that's correct. And the current policy doesn't address anything for elementary as well. So I think that we want to make clear that it's the same for secondary and elementary.
Well, and I think it would be the same concerns that would come to light. All right, so unless
If
I
I could-
hear
If I could just
strong,
pose a quick question, Mr.
Yeah, sure,
Fisher,
sure.
to Ms. George. This isn't my strong suit, so I'm going to lean on you here for guidance. If we were to take that away, obviously we don't have any students taking advantage of it, but let's say we did. Best case, worst case scenario, right? What impact does us taking that social interaction away from that child outside of the home environment have on the social emotional progression of that child or social emotional development?
So I think there's one important piece to remember, that homeschooled students still have the opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities, which are those activities that occur outside of the school day. So there would be an opportunity for students to participate in clubs, athletics, any band, music, any of those things that are happening outside of the school day. So those opportunities would still be there.
Okay.
Most homeschool
and
students
just
don't.
as a point of clarification, the PIAA, which governs our interscholastic sports, has their own set of rules for homeschool students, charter school students, et cetera. So that's not even a consideration for the district.
I was just going to say, most homeschool students take advantage of co-ops and things like that for the socio-emotional interaction things.
Then, Mr. Fisher, to answer your original question, and yeah, I would be for, if you're homeschooled, then would be at home.
Okay, so at this point, has the board provided ample direction for the administration moving forward to begin to delve into this policy?
I certainly think it has. Ms. George, you agree?
Yes, I do.
All right. Are we missing anything else that you would like direction with?
No, I think that covers what's in the policy now and how we can clarify it moving forward.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm going to say one more time, and I'm not being facetious, but I think it's important. I know everybody up here knows, and I know the administration knows, but if those who are watching, so this is not misconstrued, we have not voted on any policy. We're just giving direction.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. George.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Harlan, I'm
Yes.
sorry to,
That's okay.
I hijacked that from you.
You
I'm
did a
sorry.
fantastic job, no worries. So let's move on to agenda number 6, old business. There's no new business. Is there any public comment?
No.
Our next meeting will be Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, and I will call for adjournment at 7:48.
While we're getting situated, if anybody has not signed up for public comment, up on the front podium, there is a sign-up sheet. Please do so before the meeting starts. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I would like to call to order the special school board meeting for Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. Agenda item 1B. Purpose of the meeting. The purpose of the meeting is to approve the bills payable and any other matters that may come before the board. Agenda item 1C, reading of the mission statement. The mission of the Coatesville Area School District, rich in diversity and committed to excellence, is to create innovative educational experiences which are funded by the taxpayers, supported by the community, delivered by dedicated teachers and administrators to ensure all students will become responsible, contributing global citizens. Agenda item 1D, advisement. By notice of the President, board members are advised that all votes shall be regarded as roll call votes. The minutes should also note that public notice was given for this meeting in accordance with Act 93 of 1998, Section 1. School board meetings shall proceed in accordance with school board policy. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Rob Fisher.
Here.
Tom Keach.
Here.
Arvell Brown.
Here.
Josh Kranz.
Here.
Andrew Finkbonner.
Here.
Becky Harlan.
Here.
Mary Ann Harris.
Here.
Amelia Mills.
Here.
So while we are calling the roll, if I may, please be reminded that we currently have an empty board seat for Region 2, and applications are being accepted up till the deadline on Friday of this week, which I believe is the 15th, and I believe that's by the end of the business day, correct, Ms. Diefendorfer?
That is correct.
Okay, so anybody who is willing to help us out, the deadline is Friday, October 15th. At this time, we will have a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda item number 2. To my colleagues, are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to this evening's agenda? Do we have any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item number 3A, public comment. The board has requested all persons making comments on agenda items to list their name, address, telephone number, and motion items on the sheet provided. There is a 3-minute limit per person. The board does not take action or discuss items not appearing on the agenda. The board values public comments and wishes to convey that although board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda, they listen carefully and appreciate and value input from the public. Ms. Shannon Bailey.
Good evening. I found a financial document dated January of 2020 that lists the amount of money and the years that we spent at our public charter schools. So I'll be quickly here. In the year 2014-2015, we spent $21 million in public charter schools. The following year, 2015-16, $26.3 million. The next year, 2016-17, $34 million. The following year, 2017-2018, we spent $36 million. In 2018-2019, we spent $45 million. In 2019-2020, $54 million. And 2021, $59 million. Now, again, this is a document that you all produced in January of 2020. It said, how much money are charter schools draining from Coatesville? And so just want to emphasize that. It also states, where do we go from here? And this is what I would like for you all to think about. Acknowledge and address the district's shortcomings and deficiencies, including years of inadequate fiscal management. Create a student-centered school district that provides appropriate classroom supports and honors the rich legacy of the school district. Our goal is to meet our students' academic, social, and emotional needs. We will endeavor to nurture, support, and challenge them. We will hold our students and staff to high standards and provide the supports to help them achieve at high levels. Make financial decisions and adjustments that reflect the district's precarious reality and model industry best practices. Return solvency and prosperity to the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shannon Bailey. Moving on to agenda item number 4A. Adoption of the consent agenda. Recommended motion that the Board of School Directors approve the consent agenda items. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Before we call for the vote, committee meeting action items considered routine will be enacted under one motion unless removed for separate action upon board request. The purpose of the consolidated motion is to expedite governing board action on all consent items which are not held for discussion. Items that have been held for discussion by the governing board will be enacted upon at the time the item is discussed. So for removal from this evening's consent agenda, I would like to remove under Finance Committee, agenda item A, financial statements. Also under number 5, Finance Committee, I would like to remove agenda item K, Human Resources Report. So that is A and K under Finance Committee. Are there any other removals from consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, would you call for the vote, please?
Tom Keach,
Yes.
Andrew Finkbeiner,
Yes.
Rob Fisher,
Yes.
Becky Harlan,
Yes.
Josh Kranz,
Yes.
Mary Ann Harris,
Yes.
Amelia Mills,
Yes.
Carvel Brown.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Going back to agenda item 5A, financial statements. Recommended motion that the Board of School Directors approve the financial statements and bills payable list as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Is there any need for question or comments this evening? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Becky Harlan,
Yes.
Marvell Brown,
Yes.
Amelia Mills,
Yes.
Mary Ann Harris,
Yes.
Rob Fisher,
Yes.
Andrew Finkbonner,
Yes.
Tom Keach,
Yes.
Josh Krantz.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Agenda item 5K, Human Resources Report. Recommended motion that the Board of School Directors approve the resignations, appointments, new positions, leaves of absence, transfers, changes of status, and corrections as presented. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments on the Human Resources Report this evening? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote, please.
Josh Krantz,
Yes.
Rob Fisher,
Yes.
Marvell Brown,
Yes.
Andrew Finkbonner,
Yes.
Mary Ann Harris,
Yes.
Amelia Mills,
Yes.
Becky Harlan,
Yes.
Tom Keach.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Agenda item 9A, public comment. The board has requested that all persons making comments of public concern to list their name, address, telephone number, and topic on the sheet provided. There is a 3-minute time limit per person.
There are none. There are no public comments.
Thank you.
Now you see what I was having a problem with.
Are there any additional informational items this evening? Anyone have any informational items this evening? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion for adjournment.
Second.
We will adjourn at 7:58. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.